3 days ago, Congress did something it hasn't done in decades. It passed a massive new law to fix America's housing crisis. But here's the real question. After years of promises, will this law actually bring prices down? Or is it too little, too late? To understand why this law matters, you need to see how bad things got. Median home prices in America now sit above $400,000. Since 2020, existing home prices have jumped 54%, while wages crawled forward at a fraction of that pace. Homes now cost nearly 5 times the average income, far above the healthy ratio of 3 that economists consider normal. Existing home sales hit a 30-year low in 2023, and the market has barely recovered since. Buyers simply priced out. Mortgage rates climbed back into the mid-6% range, crushing affordability for anyone trying to buy their first home. Millions of homeowners locked into low old mortgage rates simply stopped selling, instead becoming reluctant landlords almost overnight. For the lowest income renters, the shortfall is brutal. Over 7 million affordable rental homes simply don't exist where they're needed. Nearly 3/4 of American homes are now considered unaffordable for a typical buyer, the worst ratio in over a century. On July 11th, the 21st Century Road to Housing Act passed both chambers of Congress by a rare, overwhelming bipartisan margin. Its core goal: dramatically boost housing supply by cutting red tape that's been blocking new construction for years. The law targets outdated local zoning rules, the same restrictions that have made it painfully slow to build new homes nationwide. It also pushes incentives for higher density housing near job centers, aiming to add supply exactly where demand is highest. Billions in federal funding are earmarked to fast-track infrastructure, roads, water, power, needed to support new housing developments. Additional provisions aim to support first-time buyers directly, making it slightly easier to compete in an already brutal market. A portion of the bill also expands funding for affordable and low-income housing projects, addressing that 7 million home shortfall. Lawmakers on both sides called it the most significant housing legislation passed in decades, a rare moment of political agreement. The bill's supporters say it addresses the housing shortage at its root cause, simply not enough homes being built fast enough. But passing a law and seeing real results on the ground are two very different things, and that's where the doubts begin. Experts warn the law's impact might not be felt for years, given how long construction projects and permitting actually take. Many of the zoning restrictions this law targets are controlled at the state and local level, which federal law can only partially override. Local governments have historically resisted density increases. Even when federal incentives are offered, old habits are hard to break. Even with funding available, land, materials, and skilled labor remain limited. Supply chains can't scale up overnight. Interestingly, the new home construction pipeline is already large, in some measures bigger than before the 2008 financial crisis. In some regions, like parts of Florida, builders are actually overbuilt relative to current demand, causing prices and rents to fall. This reveals a deeper truth. America's housing crisis isn't just about supply. It's also about location mismatch and affordability. Building more homes in the wrong places, at prices still out of reach, won't fix the crisis for the families who need it most. Economists are split. Some call this law a genuine turning point. Others say it's a step, not a solution, for a decades-old problem. The truth likely sits in between. Real progress, but not the dramatic price drop many desperate buyers are hoping for. For young Americans stuck living with parents, waiting years for a law's effects to show up simply isn't fast enough. Homelessness and housing insecurity remain urgent right now, not a problem that can wait for construction timelines to catch up. Renter advocacy groups argue the law does too little for existing tenants, focusing mainly on future supply instead of today's crisis. Meanwhile, families locked into low mortgage rates face an impossible choice: stay put forever or lose their rate to move. Older homeowners sitting on paid-off houses are increasingly becoming landlords by circumstance, reshaping the rental market in unexpected ways. For renters, this shift has actually pushed some rents down in oversupplied markets, a rare silver lining amid the crisis. The UK passed its own major housing reform this year too, ending controversial no-fault evictions to protect renters directly. Across Europe, The European Commission has launched a fresh push on housing affordability, treating this as a continent-wide emergency. Canada, too, continues wrestling with the same imbalance. Demand from population growth outpacing the homes being built to match it. Singapore remains the global outlier, proving that decades of consistent public housing investment can solve this problem at scale. Japan sits at the opposite extreme, with a shrinking population leaving millions of homes empty and prices falling in many regions. This is officially a Western world problem now. From Washington to London, Toronto to Sydney, the pattern looks strikingly similar. Over the next few years, watch whether local governments actually adopt the zoning changes this law encourages. That's the real test. Watch construction start numbers too. If they climb meaningfully, that's the clearest early sign the law is working as intended. Mortgage rates will matter just as much as the law itself. Even more housing supply won't help if borrowing stays this expensive. For now, most experts agree. This is meaningful progress, not a quick fix. Real relief will take years, not months. America just took its biggest housing swing in decades. Whether it actually connects will depend on execution, not just legislation. If you want to understand how the UK is tackling this exact same crisis, our previous video breaks it down in full detail. The housing crisis isn't unique to one country anymore. It's a global test of whether governments can still build for their people. If you found this useful, check out our full housing crisis series and subscribe so you never miss what's coming next.